let's talk about God of War Ragnarok. I was super excited to play this game as soon as I heard of its release. As soon as I got the chance to play it, I had my girlfriend sit down and play it with me. She basically just watched. And I really want to say that God of War 2018, I thought was a great game. It was a little slow at times. I have played it twice, pretty much 100%ed it on the second playthrough, but because of this, I probably wouldn't play it again. I've seen everything that the game has to offer, or pretty much I've seen everything that the game has to offer. I just want to preface this video by saying, first of all, I did not watch any reviews before playing this game. I went out of my way to do so because there was about a 5-day period where I didn't play the game when it was out. I wanted all my thoughts to be uninfluenced, so that's why I did that. I stuck to it. I didn't see anything. I did play this game on Gimme Balanced. I do like a bit of a challenge, but I also don't want to feel like I have to rack my head against the wall just to beat a certain part of the game or progress in the storyline. But that's just my opinion. Maybe you like that, the challenge. I do like it in certain games, such as the Dark Souls series. I do like racking my head against the wall for that one, and I do like the challenge a lot. But let's get into it. I'm going to start out with the things I don't really like about the game. Unfortunately, this is going to be a mostly negative review, critique, whatever you want to call it. The parts that I hated, oh man, there's numerous. The first part I didn't like about the game was playing as Atreus. I hated it a lot. It was super boring, especially the part with the yak. If you know what I'm talking about, you probably experienced it too, unless you enjoyed that storyline and the dialogue that was going on in the game. But to me, it was annoying as shit. It was out of this world boring. I kept leaning over to my girlfriend, asking her to end my suffering, end my misery, take this pain away from me, probably 5 to 7 times. It was probably getting pretty annoying on her part, but even she enjoyed the last game. But by the time we got to this part, she had totally lost interest. She was on her phone. She didn't care to watch anymore. I was on my own from that point forward, which is fine. That's all right. Games aren't for everyone. Let's just put it that way. Especially this game. This game is definitely not for everyone, but she really enjoyed the last one. She watched it through, she enjoyed it, she was even excited to watch this game. But because of this bad taste left in my mouth of the first time, every time we had to play as Atreus going on from this, I hope that it was the only time going forward that I was gonna have to play as him, but obviously that wasn't the case. I think there's 3 sections where you have to play them. They span about 2 hours a section, 2 to 3 hours. It's not fun. The gameplay is not fun, and I just channeled my inner speedrunner, if you know what I mean, just to get back to playing the game as Kratos, you know, the God of War, the name of the game. But besides the fact, I just felt like there wasn't enough action in the game. Cinematic action, big boss battles. Unless you went looking for them, you could get into some pretty big boss battles in the side content, I will say that. But for the most part, it just felt kind of lackluster in my opinion. At a certain point, because of this, I will admit, I turned down the difficulty to give me story because I just wasn't enjoying the game, and I was done spending any more time retrying bosses or I was done with the difficulty level, let's just put it that way. There was not enough action. I felt like God of War 2018 had more action. It just felt more compelling. Felt like it was building up to something. I wanted to see what came next. So I thought God of War Ragnarok was going to be at least more over the top, outlandish, but for some reason it felt like less than the last game, which was interesting to me, which ultimately made me switch to Give Me a Story because I was done spending any more time than necessary on this game. I wasn't enjoying the combat. At that point, I wasn't enjoying the combat, I should say, which just made me ultimately switch to Give Me Story, unfortunately. So and honestly, I started enjoying it more at that point, oddly enough, because I felt more powerful. I felt more like the God of War. I felt like if there was more of a mix of doing more damage and the enemies doing more damage, because once you turned it down to Give Me Story, it felt like there was no threat at all at that point. And I get that that's the point of it, but I just felt like you played it on any other difficulty, everything became bullet spongy, for lack of a better term. And yeah, it just wasn't fun in my opinion to keep on trying the same bosses over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. There's too many hidden loading screens. I did play it on the PS4. As far as I can tell, it's just as time consuming on the PS5 when it's pretty much the exact same game. But the PS5 has an SSD, M.2 no less, and you still have the same slow pace, hidden loading screens. I thought that they would speed up the pace that you could walk through the wall just because the PS5 had the capabilities. I did have performance issues during my playthrough. It didn't really bother me. I was kind of expecting it on the PS4. I did point it out to my girlfriend when I was playing that it did look very choppy at times, but there's just too many loading screens in the game. It becomes obnoxious at a point, unfortunately. They are such as squeezing through narrow passage, crawling through passage, and the developer's personal favorite, climbing. You will climb in this game. It is just a part of the game. If you don't like the Uncharted climbing sections and you thought those were boring, you're not going to like these either. They're pretty much exactly the same. There's no extra mechanics added into it. It's just a glorified loading screen. It becomes quite egregious, obnoxious, whatever you want to call it, especially the part when you're climbing the wall to Asgard. And usually I wouldn't go into this because no one really cares, but today I have time. So keep in mind, these are just my opinions. So settle down, Sony fanboys. Let's not get too upset here. I just don't like playing as Atreus, like I was saying before, especially from a gameplay perspective. I don't like how the best option for combat is the bow and arrow. It raises the stun meter quite noticeably more than the other parts, like engaging directly in combat. I play games for gameplay, and everything else should complement it, whether it's the story line, anything like that. I feel like it should just add to it. It's not fun to just hold the up button and then the O button to skip a little section that they require you to skip to jump to the next one for 10 to 20 seconds, and then another battle arena. That happens about 5 to 10 times throughout the game. After the third section, climbing the wall, the fighting scene, I just kind of wanted it to be over. Once you arrive at Asgard as well, it's just super underwhelming. It's nothing compared to Mount Olympus. It's nothing compared to the climbing in God of War 3 when you're on the back of Gaia and you're fighting Poseidon, and it's this big crazy war scene and over the top, a high octane action that I was looking for. It was just climb, battle arena, climb, battle arena, climb, battle arena, rinse, repeat. Not fun in my opinion. But moving on, let's get away from that. I don't want to harp on Atreus too long. The game was boring compared to the last trilogy. Kratos also feels extremely underpowered in both of these games, both 2018 and Ragnarok. I want to feel like a god when I play these games, and you just don't feel like that. I mostly noticed it in this game specifically. I'm sure it's the same in 2018, but you just feel extremely underpowered. And then when you compare it to Atreus's combat, I don't know what the deal was, but the combat as Atreus is a lot easier. You feel a lot more powerful than Kratos, and I don't know if that's because they knew the gameplay wasn't that interesting, they wanted to make him feel stronger because he's younger, or they just like Atreus more. I'm not really sure. I think it could be any of them, but I will get into the good here and stop crapping on it so much. But I started having fun once I started playing the side content at the end of the game. I don't know if it's just because it became an actual game at that point, and I wasn't having to sit through cutscenes that weren't that compelling or interesting. It didn't feel purposeful. The combat is pretty fun, but it did get old for me at a point because I did play, like I said, God of War 2018 twice and 100%ed it, like I said, and it's super similar to that game. They expanded on it a little bit with the new weapon being the spear. It was a great addition, especially because he's a Spartan. It was just a nice touch in my opinion. It was fun to use, especially the fact that you could throw and detonate up to 5 spears at once, and that's unfortunately where the good ends. This is a big spoiler, so I'll give you a second to click off the video if you haven't played it already. Alright, you good? Alright. Atreus goes off on his own at the end of the game. He says that he needs to go and find other giants that are out in the realms, and he needs to do it on his own. So he goes off with Angrboda. I won't even touch on that, on Angrboda's character. She has felt very much like an afterthought more than anything else, especially her storyline, but I digress. It seems like they're going to build off of Atreus. To me, it'll feel like it'll just be a shitty Horizon Zero Dawn clone, or whatever you want to call it. I personally haven't played Horizon Zero Dawn, but I feel like the combat would probably just be better in Horizon Zero Dawn. Go play that. You could probably get it on sale than whatever they're going to release. Obviously, in my opinion, the storytellers weren't that great, so I wouldn't play the game even for the story. After this iteration, maybe if I heard something different on a different review, I'd give it a shot, but I just don't feel like it would be worth my time. And you could probably get Horizon Zero Dawn on sale since it's an older game, so I would just go with that, honestly. Overall, I wanted my money back on this game. I didn't enjoy it. I even told to my family I was upset that I spent $88 on this. I do live in Canada, so the prices are quite high here. No refund policy, obviously, especially once you've completed the storyline, being 20 to 25 hours. But yeah, it's just not an amazing game, unfortunately. I was really upset about it at first, but now I'm just kind of aware of how bad story games can be, because I personally I don't have the best PC in the world, so I play older games so that they can handle them, and I'm more of a PC gamer now. But I did boot up the old PS4 to play this game. This is the first game I bought at full price since probably the last God of War, or maybe Black Ops 4. That was probably the other game that I spent the full price on. I got tricked into pre-ordering it off the promise of, oh, it'll be the new Battle Royale game, which obviously it wasn't. Whatever it was called, Blackout, I think, and obviously Warzone became the new game, so the new Battle Royale game, which I was very much into Battle Royales back in the day. But yeah, I wanted my money back on this one, and I feel the same way on this one. Not because of the poor lack of content like Black Ops, just because it subverted my expectations. I've heard a lot of people say that. It did subvert my expectations. It sucked. But, it is what it is. I ate that $20 like a man. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, shitpost, call me a fucking fascist, whatever you want to call me, for not liking this game. I don't really care. I personally didn't like it. This is all just my opinions, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching, guys.